Chapter 1501. The owner of the Sky Sword Mountains messaged the island that Wu Bei's cave was situated in was filled with experts. Atop the island at the highest point of the sky, there was a floating lofty golden hall that was concealed by the power of space-time. The big hall was filled with many strong auras, and every aura was strong enough to earn the respect of real gods. At the highest part of the big hall, there were a total of 20 long, narrow tables. Behind the table sat a figure. For these 20 figures, every single one of them was a super existence who could cause a sanctuary to shiver with fear with a stamp of their feet. These 20 figures were all Almighties. Close to 20 Almighties were present in the big hall. Apart from the Almighties, the remaining people were experts who represented the big forces of every area. This included Lei Chao, who represented the lineage of Star. However, all the experts belonged to the lower part of the big hall. Many experts were drinking wine and having a conversation at the same time. At that moment, among the Almighties, the expression of a red-haired old man with one horn on his forehead changed, and he laughed. I have just gotten news that the 5th white blaze fruit has appeared, and it was obtained by Jian Wushuang of the lineage of Star. Ever since the news of Wu Bei's cave got out, many universe gods started to search for the white blaze fruit in the cave. To date, 4 white blaze fruits have been found, and adding the white blaze fruit that Jian Wushuang found, there were only a total of 5 fruits. The people in the big hall started a discussion immediately. Jian Wushuang? From the lineage of Star? I know about this Jian Wushuang. Previously, he had no reputation. However, 400 years ago, he defeated Ling Dan, who ranked 39th on the Universe God ranking list with one stroke. After that, he defeated the 7-planet palace master of the 7-planet palace. With this, he became famous. Indeed, he has the ability of a top 20 member of the Universe God ranking list. This little kid has only entered Wu Bei's cave for a few days. However, he actually obtained a white blaze fruit. His luck is not too bad. Lei Chao, Jian Wushuang is part of the lineage of Star. Since you are currently representing the lineage of Star, do you have anything to say? A good number of experts in the big hall looked toward Lei Chao. However, Lei Chao said indifferently, "There's nothing for me to say. If one wishes to get a white blaze fruit in Wu Bei's cave, it is highly dependent on their luck." On the surface, Lei Chao said that Jian Wushuang had obtained the white blaze fruit due to luck. However, in actual fact, he knew very well that the fact that Jian Wushuang was able to obtain a white blaze fruit was not merely due to luck. After all, he knew Jian Wushuang's real identity, where Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator. For an inverse cultivator, it was much easier for him to search for iron wing beasts in Wu Bei's cave as compared to the other universe gods. Hence his chances of getting white blaze fruits would naturally be higher. I heard that when Jian Wushuang obtained the white blaze fruit, he was seen by a few universe gods. Those universe gods overestimated themselves and wanted to snatch the white blaze fruit away from Jian Wushuang. In the end, they were killed by Jian Wushuang. The red-haired old man and a few Almighties who were in the highest part of the hall talked and laughed. That Jian Wushuang has some connections to me. He has stayed in my Sky Sword prison for a period of time. The owner of the Sky Sword Mountain who sat with the Almighties spoke. Oh. A few Almighties around the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain looked toward him with interest. It was Hall Master Yuan of the lineage of Star who requested me to imprison him in the Sky Sword prison. The lineage of Star even paid a price for this. However, that little kid is indeed quite talented. When he was first imprisoned in the Sky Sword prison, his abilities were normal within the Sky Sword prison. Despite that, in just 4,000 years, he relied on his own abilities to kill 10 real gods and came out from the Sky Sword prison. He is indeed a genius, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain said. In a mere 4,000 years. His improvement speed is so fast. The Almighties also knew about the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain Sky Sword prison. Hence, they knew very well how frightening Jian Wushuang's improvement speed was. However, they were only slightly surprised and not too concerned. To them who stood at the top, Jian Wushuang was just a little kid at the level of Universe God. No matter how talented he was, he would be unable to draw their attention unless it was someone under them. They only mentioned Jian Wushuang at that moment because they were having a random conversation to pass time. Lei Chao, the eyes of the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain looked down. "Your lord." Lei Chao greeted him with a bow immediately. Previously, Jian Wushuang requested me to release an expert who was imprisoned in the Sky Sword prison, but I declined. However, now, tell him that he can release whoever he wants as long as he brings me 2 white blaze fruits, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain said. Lei Chao's expression changed. The Almighties around the area looked toward the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain in succession. Sky Sword, isn't that too much? That's right. Could it be that you imprisoned a real god of the second stage in the Sky Sword prison? Even if that were the case, a real god of the second stage is not worth 2 white blaze fruits. At best, 1 white blaze fruit should be enough. Sky Sword, you are a bit too greedy. A few Almighties spoke in succession. Everyone, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain, looked at everyone around him and said with a laugh, everyone should be able to tell that the fight for the white blaze fruit this time round is not as simple as we think. It has only just begun and 5 white blaze fruits have appeared already. If I'm not wrong, when the fight ends, at least 50 or even more white blaze fruits will appear. For so many white blaze fruits to appear in such a short period of time, the price of the white blaze fruit will naturally not be as shocking as it was in the past. That makes sense. The Almighties around the area agreed in succession. Items were only expensive as they were rare. Previously, it was extremely rare to come across a white blaze fruit even after many years. Hence, the white blaze fruit would naturally be extremely precious. However, if tens of white blaze fruits were to appear in a short period of time, the white blaze fruits would naturally be not worth as much. Even though the white blaze fruits were not worth as much, they were still very valuable, and it was enough for Almighties like them to have their eyes on it. Lei Chao, send a message to that little kid as per what I have said. Of course, in the end, it will depend on how many white blaze fruits that little kid obtains. In short, no matter how many white blaze fruits he obtains in Wu Bei's cave, I only need 2 of them, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain said with a laugh. That's more like it. All the Almighties beside him agreed in succession. Lei Chao nodded his head and started to transmit a message to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Lord Lei Chao, Jian Wushuang, who was in Wu Bei's cave, replied immediately. I heard that you already obtained your first white blaze fruit? Lei Chao questioned. Yes, I have obtained it. Lord Lei Chao, you managed to get this piece of news so quickly? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Ha ha. At the moment, the experts of many big forces of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries are all gathered together, including many of the Almighties. As soon as a new white blaze fruit appears, we will get the news immediately, Lei Chao said with a laugh. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. Jian Wushuang, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain, is among the Almighties who have come, and he requested that I pass you a message. Chapter 1502. The Second Iron Wing Beast, the owner of Sky Sword Mountain? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The owner of Sky Sword Prison said that you wanted him to release someone from the Sky Sword Prison once, but he didn't agree. Now, he has promised you that you can release anyone with 2 white blaze fruit, Lei Chao said. Oh. Jian Wushuang found it strange. Humph, to release a real god, 1 white blaze fruit is more than enough. He asked for 2. King of Venomous Worms humped in Jian Wushuang's head. You act at your own discretion. The 2 white blaze fruits are not definite. The owner of Sky Sword Mountain himself said it could be discussed, Lei Chao said. I understand. Jian Wushuang understood the situation. In Sky Sword Prison, Fiery King was still imprisoned. If possible, Jian Wushuang would figure out a way to bail Fiery King out. As for the white blaze fruit, it depended on the amount of white blaze fruit that he got after the grand fight banquet. He could decide then. Jian Wushuang, let me remind you that as we have received the news of you getting a white blaze fruit, various universe gods in Wu Bei's cave definitely will have received the news too. They know that you have a white blaze fruit with you, so it is inevitable that there will be an expert who wants to take it away from you. Hence, be careful. In Wu Bei's cave, there is quite a number of universe gods who are at a higher rank than you are. If you were to really be at a critical junction, give up white blaze fruit and save your own life, Lei Chao exhorted. Jian Wushuang nodded. He wasn't stupid either. He wouldn't really sacrifice his life for a white blaze fruit. After they cut off the connection, Jian Wushuang continued to wander around the cave dwelling. On the island where experts had gathered, the entrance to Wu Bei's cave was still wide open. There were universe gods from everywhere in 10 cultivation sanctuaries that entered one after another. At that very moment, there was a young man in a white robe carrying a saber on his back that had appeared on the island. The young man in the white robe had long brown hair, a pair of drowsy eyes and a handsomely cold face. He was a man with a remarkable appearance. That's the entrance to Wu Bei's cave? During the years in 10 cultivation sanctuaries, I have been challenging experts from all over. However, the strongest that I've met is one who was close to Universe God ranking list. He didn't even make me have to give my all. But in Wu Bei's cave now, more than 80% of experts on Universe God ranking list are gathered here. This is a battlefield for true experts. It's a battlefield that belongs to me. The young man in a white robe looked at the cave dwelling below as his eyes shimmered with joy. I heard that Jian Wushuang is in Wu Bei's cave too. I hope I can meet him. With a faint smile, the young man in a white robe plunged down and entered Wu Bei's cave. There were many experts on the island who were astonished. Such swift speed. This speed seems to surpass ordinary real gods. Who is the person who went in just now? I don't know. He isn't an expert on Universe God ranking list. He should be a solo expert who isn't quite famous. The birth of Wu Bei's cave has led to the appearance of many universe gods who aren't famous before but very powerful. The person earlier was one of them. In Wu Bei's cave, the fight over the white blaze fruit was still ongoing. On the 4th day Jian Wushuang entered the cave dwelling, he found a white blaze fruit. But in the following 10 days, Jian Wushuang didn't even find one iron wing beast. On the 11th day, Hong! A vigorous roar spread. Although it was very far away, Jian Wushuang heard it at the very first instance. That direction. Jian Wushuang immediately locked into one direction and rushed over in an explosion of speed. When he appeared in the battlefield, he saw 4 universe gods joining forces to hem the iron wing beast in to kill it. The 4 universe gods besieged the iron wing beast and there were already wounds on it. Then, Jian Wushuang joined the battlefield straight away without hesitation. His participation shocked the other 4 universe gods and they immediately recognized Jian Wushuang. It's Jian Wushuang. Top 20 on Universe God ranking list. Shit. Jian Wushuang dashed into the battlefield and the 4 universe gods didn't have the ability to stop him. They saw the eruption of Jian Wushuang's sword principle and his thunder-like techniques instantly killed the iron wing beast. However, after Jian Wushuang had killed the iron wing beast, he didn't see the existence of Chen Kuan ring like the previous dead body. No white blaze fruit. The effort was in vain. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly but he had no choice. The iron wing beast in Wu Bei's cave, not every one of them carried a white blaze fruit. After killing an iron wing beast, it depended on luck if there was a white blaze fruit or not. Swoosh! 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 A bunch of figures caught up with them. They were universe gods who rushed over due to the fighting. In addition to the 4 universe gods who had besieged the iron wing beast, there was a total of 10 people. The 10 of them scattered as they stared at Jian Wushuang. The 4 of us joined forces and we finally did injury to the iron wing beast with great difficulty. However, Mr. Jian Wushuang, you killed the iron wing beast on your own in an instant. You live up to your name as an expert in the top 20 on the Universe God ranking list. I admire you. One of the 4 universe gods who besieged the iron wing beast earlier, a brown-haired elderly said. There's no use if I killed it. There isn't any white blaze fruit in the iron wing beast's body, Jian Wushuang replied. The surrounding universe gods exchanged a look. They saw it themselves. Jian Wushuang really didn't get a Chen Kuan ring from the dead body of the iron wing beast. Although this iron wing beast doesn't have it, from what I know, Mr. Jian Wushuang killed an iron wing beast alone previously and took out a white blaze fruit from it, the brown-haired elderly suddenly said. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded faintly and smiled. Why? Unless you're interested in the white blaze fruit that I got previously? I dare not. I am only casually bringing it up. I do not have the guts to take anything away from Mr. Jian Wushuang. Farewell, the brown-haired elderly said, then turned to leave. The other universe gods took another glance at Jian Wushuang but they didn't have the courage to fight him. They left one after another. Most of them had received a reminder from the higher-ups of their sects. If they were to come across experts in the top 30 on the Universe God ranking list, unless there were tens of Universe Gods to launch an attack together, or if there was another expert on the Universe God ranking list to join the fight, they should leave immediately. Without sufficient formation strength, fighting over a white blaze fruit with a top 30 expert on Universe God ranking list was simply courting death. 10 Universe Gods, there were 9 who left very quickly, but there was one who didn't leave. It was an ugly young man with dark skin. The young man carried a strange crimson saber on his back, and the aura that he gave out was quite wicked too. With a tinge of a chilly gleam, his gaze was fixed on Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1503. Fight. Do you still have something for me? Jian Wushuang looked at the ugly-looking man. Jian Wushuang, the ugly-looking man, spoke. I am Ju Cho of the Purple Feather Palace. Purple Feather Palace? Jian Wushuang shook his head slightly. There were countless sects in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. However, Jian Wushuang had never heard of the Purple Feather Palace. Hence, it was obvious that the Purple Feather Palace was not considered a very powerful sect. You might not have heard of me before. However, from today onward, you will know me. This is because I will use you as a stepping stone and get into the top 20 of the Universe God ranking list. The eyes of the ugly-looking man Ju Cho were burning with excitement. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He understood that Ju Cho's objective was not the white blaze fruit that he possessed. Instead, it was to fight him. Before meeting you, I defeated Shuang, who was ranked 58th, and Suang, who was ranked 31st in the Universe God ranking list successively. Now, I only need to defeat you so that I can challenge the 10 monsters who are in the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list. Ju Cho's loud voice reverberated across the area. After hearing what was said, Jian Wushuang's gaze turned serious and his expression also turned grave. If Ju Cho had no fighting achievements previously and had only wanted to challenge him, Jian Wushuang would not be too concerned. However, at the moment, Ju Cho had already defeated 2 experts in the Universe God ranking list consecutively. This included Su Ang, who was ranked 31st on the Universe God ranking list as well. Hence, Jian Wushuang could no longer take him lightly. Jian Wushuang, show me your full strength and let me see how strong the top 20 of the Universe God ranking list is. With a shout, Ju Cho, who stood in front of Jian Wushuang, made a move. Whoosh! The void in front of Jian Wushuang was torn open and Ju Cho's body appeared immediately. As soon as Ju Cho appeared, a shrill crimson saber light struck. Fast. It was so fast that it was unbelievable. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. During his course of training, he had met quite a number of experts. In particular, in the Sky Sword Prison, he had fought with many experts, which included a few real gods, and some of them wielded a saber. However, among those experts, not many of them could use a saber with speed like Ju Cho. HMPH. Jian Wushuang gave a cold HMPH and the Blood Mountain sword in his hands changed into electricity and clashed with the crimson saber light with lightning speed. During the clash, 2 divine power collided with one another. Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword and Ju Cho's crimson saber were pushed back to the point that they retreated slightly. 10,000 shadows. Jian Wushuang gave a loud cry. Rustle! 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 Countless sword lights burst forth and every one of them was terrifically fast. In addition, its power was frightening. Ha ha! Take this! Ju Cho laughed loudly. A great amount of horrifying saber essence, which could tear apart everything, rose and Ju Cho's body changed into a sharp saber. The saber light was like ink and it attacked instantly. The saber light, which could cover the universe, was like a crimson saber river and it headed for Jian Wushuang. Clang! 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 Countless sounds of weapons clashing with one another could be heard. At that instant, in less than a breath's time, both of them had already clashed with one another hundreds of times. In such an intense battle, the Crimson Saber River, which was originally very dense, became even more dazzling. The speed of his saber skills is actually faster than mine? Jian Wushuang was shocked and his body moved. Swoosh! 9 shadows appeared at the same time and Jian Wushuang's body had already appeared magically behind Ju Cho's back. His shrill sword was like a crimson, glittering light which plunged across the void and headed straight for Ju Cho's neck. Piss off. Ju Cho turned his hand over and struck furiously. This stroke was strong. When it clashed with Jian Wushuang's sword principles, it actually forced Jian Wushuang to retreat 3 steps continuously. Jian Wushuang, as someone who is ranked 20th in the Universe God ranking list, your abilities are only as such. Ju Cho's body was filled with murderous aura and an enormous amount of saber essence was locked on to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed with a fierce light. By activating his divine power crazily, his reincarnation power also activated the secret skill of the blood feather reincarnation armor. 9th Heaven Stroke. A supreme sword essence burst forth in a great amount and shot up to the highest heavens. At that void, the Nemesis sword, a towering sword shadow which could destroy the world, descended. A fearsome power was putting pressure on the void. Ha ha, good going. Ju Cho's face was filled with excitement. After laughing, the crimson saber on his hands became even redder. A tremendous amount of crimson mist was released and the whole sky was dyed a scarlet color. Within the center of the crimson universe, Ju Cho looked as if he had become the emperor of the universe. Crimson saber. Rustle. A captivating, brilliant saber light appeared out of thin air. The saber light was so unusually bewitching that it caused people to be charmed. When it was launched, it was as if everything in the universe had lost its color. In no time, the unusually bewitching saber light collided head-on with the towering sword shadow that Jian Wushuang had unleashed. Bam! A loud sound which shook the universe could be heard. At that moment when the sound was heard, a vast amount of divine power had already become frightening shockwaves which swept past all areas. Within the enormous divine power storm, a glittering light appeared. Thud! The glittering light landed on the ground directly without any hindrance and it created a big hole instantly. It was as if the land had completely subsided. However, with the release of powerful divine power from the bottom of the hole, a huge amount of crushed stone was smashed into pieces. A figure then stood up again. It was Ju Cho. Ju Cho had an extremely red face and his eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. As he stood on the ground, he looked at the void above. At the top, Jian Wushuang had a cold expression and he was putting his Blood Mountain sword into its sheath slowly. You are indeed strong and you will not have any problems getting into the top 30 of the Universe God ranking list. However, you are still a bit lacking if you wish to get into the top 20. After finishing talking, Jian Wushuang did not care about Ju Cho's reaction. He turned his body straight away and left. Ju Cho stood at his position. His body was shaking a little and he did not refute Jian Wushuang's words. He was very clear that the clash moments ago had decided the outcome of the match between him and Jian Wushuang. He had lost. His sword principles were definitely not too strong. Compared to my saber skills, his sword principles are slightly more inferior. However, his divine power is unusually powerful and it is 1 grade stronger than mine. His comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei also seems to be stronger than mine. Powerful divine power combined with the power of Heaven Wei. Even though his unique skills are slightly inferior to mine, he still managed to push me back. I am not satisfied with this loss. Ju Cho muttered. However, he didn't know that Jian Wushuang's divine power was not stronger than his by much. It was because of the secret skill of the blood feather reincarnation armor that allowed Jian Wushuang's divine power to rise to the next level. As for the comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei, Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the reincarnation doctrine could already allow him to clear the first level of the Doctrine Palace. As for Ju Cho's comprehension of the Heaven Wei, he was still lacking slightly. With the combination of these two factors, Jian Wushuang would definitely be stronger if the two of them fought one another. As expected, the experts in the top 20 of the Universe God ranking list would not go down so easily. Moreover, although Jian Wushuang has only just achieved the 20th position, he is this strong. Hence, those people, whose rankings are higher than his, are definitely stronger. With that, the distance between me and them is definitely still very big. Ju Cho shook his head and left soon after. Chapter 1504, Mighty Uproar in the Void. Jian Wushuang was traveling forward slowly but he was astonished. Ju Cho from earlier was really powerful and he was very close to the top 20 on the Universe God ranking list. Such strong a Universe God, but he wasn't famous at all? Jian Wushuang complimented in silence. Jian Wushuang, You must understand that 10 cultivation sanctuaries is huge. There are so many experts, and not every expert is famous. There are experts who possess amazing power but have kept a low profile and hardly revealed their true power. Such experts remained unknown to the public. There are tons of them in 10 cultivation sanctuaries. The birth of Wu Bei's cave gathered most of the universe gods who were not famous here. Hence, don't belittle anyone just because he isn't famous or not listed on the universe god ranking list, King of Venomous Worms said. True. Ju Cho, who popped out of nowhere, has the fighting power of 1 in the top 30 in universe god ranking list. Among the experts who are not famous but in Wu Bei's cave, there must be some who are stronger than Ju Cho. I reckon some experts who could be compared favorably with the top 10 monsters might appear too, Jian Wushuang muttered. He could imagine that the universe god ranking list would definitely go through an unprecedented, radical shake-up after the grand fight banquet. After making the fact known, Jian Wushuang became more careful and cautious with every action he took in Wu Bei's cave. The time flew past. Although Wu Bei's cave was extremely spacious, after the universe gods probed inch by inch, one iron wing beast was found after another and then killed. Even though most of the iron wing beasts had no white blaze fruits in their bodies, there were a few that had one. Once a white blaze fruit appeared, it would cause a fight. On the 13th day after Jian Wushuang had entered Wu Bei's cave, someone found the 6th white blaze fruit. The one who found the white blaze fruit was a universe god in the top 10 on universe god ranking list. Even though there were many universe gods around him who saw when he got the white blaze fruit, there was no one who had the guts to fight for it. Hence, the 6th white blaze fruit didn't cause a great commotion. On the 18th day, the 7th white blaze fruit appeared, and the white blaze fruit was in the hands of an ordinary universe god. The universe god just got it out of the iron wing beast's body, and the others killed it very soon. Then, it transformed into carnage immediately. After a ferocious battle, the white blaze fruit fell into the hands of an expert in the 27th place on the universe god ranking list. There were more than 100 universe gods who had died from the battle. Among the dead, there were 2 experts on universe god ranking list that passed away. It was extremely mad. On the 20th day after Jian Wushuang had entered Wu Bei's cave, Lei Chao sent him updated news. The monster on the 2nd place on universe god ranking list, King Jin Wu, came. Since then, the 10 monsters on the universe god ranking list, there were a total of 7 that were there. After Jian Wushuang had wandered in Wu Bei's cave for a month, shocking news suddenly spread. Demon girl Ling Luo, who was on the 3rd place on universe god ranking list, was challenged by a mysterious man in Wu Bei's cave, and she was defeated and killed on the spot. When the news spread, it immediately stirred a mighty uproar in Wu Bei's cave. The top 10 on the universe god ranking list, also known as the 10 monsters. They were widely recognized as the scariest 10 people out of all of the universe gods. To be able to be in the top 3 on the universe god ranking list, they were surely the monsters of the monsters. Such monsters could easily kill a real god, and their power made one hopeless. However, the monster on the 3rd place on universe god ranking list had lost to a person who wasn't famous at all. It was naturally astonishing. Outside the island, in the lofty palace, where many almighties and representatives of each forces and sects had gathered. Compared to a month before, there was obviously more experts in the palace. Even almighties. There were about 25 almighties on the scene. At that very moment, the experts were all discussing demon girl Ling Luo being defeated. The superb genius in 3rd place on universe god ranking list. She lost just like that. We guessed earlier that there would definitely be a radical shake-up on the universe god ranking list. However, the monsters in the top 10 shouldn't change much, especially the top 3. Who would have guessed that before the opening of Wu Bei's cave in 2 months' time, one of the top 3 would already be defeated? The mysterious man who defeated demon girl Ling Luo. Who was it? Any names? No. According to the news I heard, the mysterious man didn't announce his name when he challenged demon girl Ling Luo but instantly took action. He uses a knife as his weapon. His knife principle is so terrifying. He comprehended darkness doctrine and massacre doctrine of 9 heaven god doctrine at the same time. His darkness doctrine definitely possesses the ability to pass the 1st level of Doctrine Palace. Although his comprehension towards massacre doctrine has not reached the 1st level, it's about there. TSK. Comprehended 2 powers of Heaven Wei at the same time and with such a high comprehension level. He's so impressive. From the opening of Wu Bei's cave until now, there have been quite a number of experts who weren't famous before that revealed surprising power in the cave. There were many who possessed the fighting powers of one on the universe god ranking list. However, the mysterious man who used a knife should be the strongest. Real gods from each force were chatting among themselves. In a higher place in the palace, the 25 almighties scattered around Tower Master Chi Fu, the latest universe god ranking list. Have you sorted it out yet? A red-haired elderly with a unicorn on his forehead asked casually. Don't be in a hurry. Tower Master Chi Fu shook his head and smiled. The grand banquet has just started. A ferocious fight leads to a radical shake-up of universe god ranking list. It isn't easy for Vientiane Tower to tidy them up. Plus, although there are some people who have revealed their powers, Vientiane Tower has yet to find out their true identity. Just like the young man who defeated Ling Luo, Vientiane Tower has yet to find out who he is. How do we announce the list? That's true, the red-haired elderly nodded faintly. Wait a little while more. When the list is sorted, we naturally will announce it, Tower Master Chi Fu said. In Wu Bei's cave, Jian Wushuang had already received the news of demon girl Ling Luo being defeated. Awesome guy. He could even shake the monster on the 3rd place on universe god ranking list. Out of the universe gods who came to Wu Bei's cave, there are so many hidden talents, Jian Wushuang complimented in silence. He knew long ago that many experts who weren't famous would come to join the grand banquet. Just like the few people he had found out from Lei Chao previously. Although they weren't listed on the universe god ranking list, they were suspected to possess fighting powers like one in the top 10 of universe god ranking list. But the person who had appeared then was the most eye-catching one. He plunged into the top 3 on the universe god ranking list with one attack. It seems that if I hadn't cultivated in real God Hall for 4 months and mastered a slight bit of power of space-time, my position as the 20th on the universe god ranking list would be quite difficult to maintain, Jian Wushuang muttered. Just then. Chapter 1505, Rescue Jian Wushuang, where are you now? Lei Chao sent a message abruptly, and it was obvious that his voice was filled with anxiousness. I am at this place. Is there something wrong? Jian Wushuang informed Lei Chao of his location immediately. Quick, head toward your northwest. Long Ya is in that direction, and he is currently being pursued by someone. Please go over to save him at once, Lei Chao said continuously. Long Ya is being pursued? Jian Wushuang was stunned. In the fight for the white blaze fruit this time round, all 3 disciples of the lineage of Star who had made it into the universe god ranking list had come. However, in Wu Bei's cave, the 3 of them were separated. Jian Wushuang had been acting alone, and it seemed that Long Ya, as well as Xianxia, had been doing the same. Could it be that Long Ya has obtained a white blaze fruit? Jian Wushuang questioned. That's right. In a stroke of luck, he managed to get 1 white blaze fruit. However, he was targeted by quite a number of experts, and he is currently using the secret skill of Dragon Blood to escape with all his might. However, the secret skill of Dragon Blood uses up divine power at a very fast rate, and it will not last long. Xianxia has also made his way over. However, you are the closest to Long Ya. I will inform Long Yu to escape in your direction, and he might still make it, Lei Chao said. All right, I will head there straight away. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate, and he unleashed his speed. Even he himself unleashed the first stage of the secret skill of Dragon Blood and plunged toward the direction of Long Ya. In a vast void. Swish! A glittering light was escaping with an amazing speed. However, a short distance behind him, there was a black, dim light giving chase, and its speed was quite fast as well. Jerk! There were many bloodstains on Long Ya, and he looked very miserable. After he shot a glance at the black, dim light behind him, his expression turned extremely ugly. Previously, his luck was good, and he had managed to get a white blaze fruit during a fight that many universe gods had participated in. After getting the white blaze fruit, he used the secret skill of Dragon Blood to escape straight away. Initially, he had thought that by relying on the secret skill of Dragon Blood, he would be able to lose all the universe gods. However, he totally did not expect to come across a fearsome guy while escaping. At that moment, Long Yue's divine power was being used up rapidly. By relying on the second stage of the secret skill of Dragon Blood, his speed had already risen by more than 100 times. Yet, he was still unable to lose the black dim light behind him. He was not like Jian Wushuang, who had the king of venomous worms attached to him to help him replenish his divine power. Since Long Yue's divine power was being depleted at a very fast rate, he would not be able to maintain his speed for much longer. I have exhausted 70% of my divine power and I only have 30% left. At best, I can only last for 1/8 of an hour more. Long Yue clenched both his fists tightly. For a normal, intense battle, 1/8 of an hour was considered long. However, to Long Yue, who was escaping, it was too short. Long Yue's expression changed abruptly. He had already received Lei Chao's message and got the information that Jian Wushuang was rushing over. At the same time, he also got to know Jian Wushuang's location. Great! Long Yue was delighted. He did not hesitate and immediately escaped in the direction of Jian Wushuang. As for that black, dim light, it followed him persistently like before. As time passed, his divine power decreased rapidly. Previously, he had already used up 70%. Eventually, it became 80%, and then 90%. When he had depleted 90% of his divine power, Long Yue finally started to panic. He's not here yet. Jian Wushuang is not here yet? Long Yue's body was shivering. He felt that he had exhausted all the divine power in the body. I cannot last any longer. Long Yue felt helpless. He then turned his head and shouted, "Universe God Xianxia, I will give you the white blaze fruit, please stop chasing me." Ha! A loud and earth-shaking laugh could be heard from the black, dim light. If you had given me that white blaze fruit from the start, I would not have made things difficult for you. However, you are about to run out of steam. Lowering your head now is too late. By killing you, that white blaze fruit will still be mine. Moreover, I can also get all the treasures you possess. Why wouldn't I do it? After all, I won't need to use too much effort. Bastard, I am a disciple of the Star Palace, Long Yue bellowed. Don't use Star Palace disciple to frighten me. My Heaven Axe Divine Palace is not afraid of your lineage of Star. Universe God Xianxia, who was within the black light, sneered. Long Yue's expression turned even paler. He had already reached the state where the divine power in his body was completely used up. Without sufficient divine power to last, Long Yue's speed decreased greatly. Ha! Long Yue, die! Cruel laughter resounded across the horizon and the black light appeared behind Long Yue. Long Yue's gaze turned serious. With a flip of his palm, the white blaze fruit appeared in his hands. What followed after that was him tossing the white blaze fruit in a random direction without hesitation. The white blaze fruit? The expression of Universe God Xianxia, who had reached the back of Long Yue, changed slightly. After that, he immediately changed his direction and plunged toward the white blaze fruit. In no time, Universe God Xianxia caught up with the white blaze fruit and he grabbed it with his hands. HMPH, do you think you can escape from me just like that? After keeping the white blaze fruit into a Qian Kuan ring, Universe God Xianxia's ice-cold eyes locked onto Long Yue, who was continuing his escape. With a flash of murderous intent, he gave chase again. It was obvious that Universe God Xianxia would only let the matter drop when he had killed Long Yue. However, at that moment, in the void in front of Long Yue, a black dot appeared out of thin air. Moreover, the black dot was getting bigger with a shocking speed. Jian Wushuang. Long Yue was over the moon and he relied on his last bit of divine power to head toward Jian Wushuang. The two of them finally met. Rustle. Jian Wushuang stood in front of Long Yue straight away. Long Yue had collapsed completely and his aura had become extremely weak. Swoosh. The black light which had followed behind Long Yue stopped as well. The dim light dissipated, revealing a cruel-looking man who wore black armor. The cruel-looking man's hands were carrying one big axe each. At that moment, he was looking toward Jian Wushuang with interest. Long Yue, are you all right? Jian Wushuang shot a glance toward Long Yue, who was behind him. This is not enough to make me die. I have merely exhausted my divine power. Also, the white blaze fruit has fallen into the hands of Universe God Xianxia. Long Wai said in a low voice, and his eyes filled with flames of fury. I have some elixirs with me. Take them immediately to regain your divine power. Jian Wushuang tossed a few elixirs over to Long Wai. The elixirs were obtained by Jian Wushuang from the real gods who he had killed back in the Sky Sword prison. The effects of the elixirs were impressive as well. All right, Long Wai nodded his head seriously. Without hesitation, he swallowed the elixirs with one gulp and started to recover his divine power at once. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned and he looked at the cruel-looking man who was wearing black armor. Universe God Xiongfu. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted slightly. Universe God Xiongfu was ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. The most outstanding genius disciple of the current generation in the Heaven Axe Divine Palace. He was also acknowledged as one of the 10 monsters by the Eternal Chaotic World. To date, this was the very first expert in the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list that Jian Wushuang had come across. Chapter 1506. Soft persimmon in the void. As the breeze howled, the air seemed to freeze. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold as he fixed his eyes upon Universe God Xiongfu. In Wu Bei's cave, many universe gods were fighting one another madly for white blaze fruits. The one who was killed in the fight could only blame himself for being weak. He can't blame anyone else. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Universe God Xiongfu, if Long Wai were to seize the white blaze fruit and be unwilling to give it to you, I could understand if you were to kill him. However, Long Wai gave you the white blaze fruit, but you're still coming after him to kill him. Isn't this a little ridiculous? Ridiculous? Universe God Xiongfu lifted the corners of his lips and smiled. In this world, there's no right and wrong. There's only strong and weak. As I am stronger than him, so what if I am being ridiculous? Jian Wushuang, you should be glad that your ranking on the Universe God ranking list isn't low. I am not confident that I can kill you. Otherwise, not only Long Wai, but also you, with a white blaze fruit, will have to die here today. Universe God Xiongfu knew Jian Wushuang had a white blaze fruit too. However, Jian Wushuang wasn't weak. Although he was at the 9th place on Universe God ranking list, it was not definite if he could kill Jian Wushuang. If so, I'm really lucky. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly and his gaze turned cold too. But, I'd really like to know just how amazing the 9th place on Universe God ranking list is. Why? Want to try? Universe God Xiongfu smirked and looked at Jian Wushuang in disdain. He wasn't sure if he could kill Jian Wushuang, but in terms of power, he didn't see Jian Wushuang as his match. After all, between the top 10 and the top 20 on Universe God ranking list, there was a vast difference. Just as the two of them were going to launch an attack, there was a huge crowd that appeared in the void before them. Those people were the universe gods who were fighting over the white blaze fruit with Long Wai earlier. But as their speed wasn't fast enough, they only caught up then. Including the universe gods who were attracted by the chase, there was a total of almost 100 people. With almost 100 universe gods, although there weren't any experts on the universe god ranking list, if they were to join forces, it would still be a rather fierce fighting force. Universe God Xiongfu and Jian Wushuang? The universe gods who caught up looked at the two of them in astonishment. Especially when they saw Jian Wushuang, the universe gods looked shocked. Jian Wushuang was holding a white blaze fruit. Then they noticed Long Wai, who was extremely weak, standing behind Jian Wushuang. Long Wai, pass us the white blaze fruit. Pass us the white blaze fruit. Otherwise, you have to die. Continuous roars were heard one after another. The universe gods locked gazes on Long Wai. Long Wai clenched his teeth and roared, "The white blaze fruit that I've gotten is in universe god Xiongfu's hands." Ha! The universe gods looked at universe god Xiongfu again. He's right. I do have a white blaze fruit in my hand. Universe god Xiongfu smiled maliciously. However, I'm not the only one with a white blaze fruit on hand. Jian Wushuang has one too. So, you'd better think it through if you want the white blaze fruit in my hand or the one in Jian Wushuang's hand. Or maybe, you can figure out a way to make the both of us stay back. Universe god Xiongfu obviously sounded bold in his speech. The surrounding 100 universe gods immediately drowned in deep thoughts. One-on-one, they definitely weren't Jian Wushuang or universe god Xiongfu's match. They definitely had to join forces. even if they were to join forces. 100 peak universe gods in the third heaven joining forces. Although their fighting power would be fierce, it would be unrealistic to make both Jian Wushuang and universe god Xiongfu stay. Hence, they could only choose one. Universe god Xiongfu and Jian Wushuang. One was 9th on the universe god ranking list and the latter one on the 20th. Even an idiot would know how to choose. Jian Wushuang, give us the white blaze fruit. An elderly in a red robe who obviously had a stronger aura compared to the other universe gods roared. The other universe gods looked over at Jian Wushuang at the same time and their gazes were cold. On the other hand, universe god Xiongfu looked at the sight with interest but didn't intend to get involved. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes slightly. It seems that they are treating me like a soft persimmon, Jian Wushuang muttered. Well, universe god Xiongfu is in the 9th place on universe god ranking list, which is a higher rank than mine. Under normal circumstances, his power should definitely be stronger than mine. Jian Wushuang, give us the white blaze fruit and we will let you leave with Long Ya. Otherwise, both you and Long Y have to die here. The elderly in red robe continued. With all of you? Jian Wushuang stole a glance at the elderly in red robe. You're courting death. The elderly in red robe was raging with anger. He bellowed, go, kill him. Kill. The surrounding 100 universe gods instantly erupted with a terrifying murderous intention and the figures plunged forward simultaneously. Normally, if only a few of them ran into Jian Wushuang alone, they definitely wouldn't dare to make a plan on Jian Wushuang's white blaze fruit. But then, they weren't afraid. After all, there were almost 100 of universe gods and they were all peak universe gods in the third heaven. Although there weren't any experts on universe god ranking list, with them joining forces, even universe god Xiongfu, who was on the 9th place on universe god ranking list, could only avoid them, let alone Jian Wushuang. These universe gods were soaring with murderous intention. But then, Jian Wushuang's face was extremely cold. I do not want to carry out a massacre. But this time, you are the one courting death. Jian Wushuang gave a chilly glare and a boundless soul power swept out instantly. The bolt of soul power turned into a crimson phoenix in the void directly. The crimson phoenix flapped its wings, then it turned into flowing lights and rained. As the crimson phoenix's feather turned into crimson flowing lights, they immersed into the almost 100 of universe gods' bodies without hindrance. Then, they pierced through the universe gods' sea of consciousness like sharp thorns. Almost 100 universe gods were soaring with murderous intention earlier, but then, more than half of them revealed a terrified expression. Then, their gazes grew dim. Hualala. Just like rain, out of almost 100 of universe gods, 60 of them fell to the ground straight away. There was over 30 remaining universe gods. Although they forcefully endured the soul attack, they could feel the piercing pain from their consciousnesses. Then, Blood Mountain Sword already appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. Looking at the remaining 30 universe gods before him that were still in astonishment, there was a flash of murderous intention in Jian Wushuang's eyes as his figure suddenly became illusionary. Chapter 1507, Universe God Xiongfu. Rustle. 9 shadows appeared at the same time. Jian Wushuang's body became like a ghost's and he appeared in front of the red-robed old man instantly. The red-robed old man was the strongest out of the universe gods and his fighting capabilities were almost comparable to that of the experts in the universe god ranking list. However, he was attacked by Jian Wushuang's soul attack. Before his consciousness was able to settle down, Jian Wushuang did a random stroke. The sword cut open the air and swept past the nape of the red-robed old man. The red-robed old man's head was sent flying. Following that, Jian Wushuang's body moved again and he shuttled back and forth within the crowd. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. While shuttling back and forth, icy-cold sword lights were unleashed one after another and every sword light was so chilly that it was fearsome. In a split second, a breath's time had passed and among the remaining 30 universe gods, 16 of them had been killed by Jian Wushuang. The remaining universe gods, whose numbers made up to less than 20, were dumbstruck by the crazy massacre occurring in front of them. Run, run, run away quickly. He's too scary. He's not human, he's a demon. The universe gods escaped with all their might. In just a short amount of time, apart from Jian Wushuang and Long Ya, Universe God Xianxia was the only person still alive and standing at his location. Clap, clap. Clapping sounds could be heard. Universe God Xianxia was clapping his hands and walking toward Jian Wushuang at the same time. Brilliant, really brilliant. Universe God Xianxia giggled. I did not expect you, Jian Wushuang, to actually be proficient in consciousness attacks. Moreover, your way of using the consciousness attacks is so impressive. This has really widened my perspective. Jian Wushuang was squinting his eyes slightly. Although he was proficient in consciousness attacks, this information was not in the Universe God ranking list. Hence, there were not many people in Wu Bei's cave who knew about this trick of his. If not, the Universe Gods from before would not have the guts to find trouble with him. After all, numbers were the least concern of experts who excelled in consciousness attacks. Jian Wushuang's force of soul had achieved the highest level of a Universe God. By using Crimson Phoenix, a soul attack, with his full strength, unless the consciousness of his opponent had also reached the highest level of a Universe God, he would be unable to block it. As for those Universe Gods numbering close to 100 previously, over 60 of them were killed in a short while and only 30 of them, whose consciousnesses had reached the highest level of a Universe God, survived. However, there were merely 30 Universe Gods. With Jian Wushuang's martial art motion, there was only room for them to be massacred. In addition, Blood Phoenix of the 5 Beast Soul Manipulation knack was an attack to attack a large group of people. In a one-to-one match, if Jian Wushuang had used the soul attack with his full power, even a consciousness which had reached the highest level of a Universe God would be unable to block it, unless the consciousness of the other party had achieved the level of a real god. The people in the way have been taken care of. Now, it's your turn. Jian Wushuang looked toward Universe God Xianxia. You wish to fight? Bring it on. Universe God Xianxia had nothing to fear. Long Fu, please stay to one side, Jian Wushuang said. Understood. Long Wei nodded his head and retreated far away immediately. In the huge void, only Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xianxia remained. I wish to see exactly how strong a person like you, who is ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list, is. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold and 9 shadows appeared at once. At that moment when he moved his body, Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed with a dense crimson light. The crimson light was like a crimson sun. Its scarlet color was dazzling and extremely charming. Even Universe God Xianxia could not help but be captivated by the crimson sun. All of a sudden, the 18 Azura hell descended. A phantasmagoria? Universe God Xianxia frowned. He was already in the phantasmagoria. Break! With a shout, Universe God Xianxia broke out of the phantasmagoria immediately. His consciousness had already reached the level of a real god. Although Jian Wushuang's phantasmagoria was strong, it was unable to affect him. However, the moment he got out of the phantasmagoria, he realized that Jian Wushuang's body had already appeared in front of him. At the same time, scarlet sword light headed toward him like crimson lightning. It was the real god's unique skill that Jian Wushuang had created, crimson light. HMPH. Universe God Xianxia gave a cold hum. He swung his right hand abruptly and a giant axe shadow brought the power of the universe around the area. The power was so enormous and mighty, it was as if the whole universe was being oppressed. Clang! With a loud sound, a great force caused Jian Wushuang to shake and stagger. In the end, he retreated a few steps continuously. Ha ha! Universe God Xianxia laughed sardonically. He then used both his hands and swung the 2 giant axes at the same time. The 2 giant axes were swung continuously and endlessly with every swing containing terrifying power. Jian Wushuang had already activated the secret skill of the Blood Feather Reincarnation Armor. He had also released his divine power fully. With that, he swung his long sword continuously to fight. However, as he clashed with the giant axes time after time, the horrifying strength shook Jian Wushuang to the point that his arms felt some pain. What great power! I have already activated the secret skill of the Blood Feather Reincarnation Armor. However, I actually cannot match him in terms of strength. Jian Wushuang was shocked. When his divine power was combined with the secret skill of the Blood Feather Reincarnation Armor, his divine power would not be inferior to that of a genuine real god by much. However, he was actually unable to match Universe God Xianxia. Jian Wushuang, are your abilities only as such? The eyes of Universe God Xianxia, who was swinging his giant axes crazily to push back Jian Wushuang, shone with a fierce light. You actually dare to fight me with this kind of strength? You are really overestimating yourself. Buzz. Blood chi burst forth from Universe God Xianxia's body all of a sudden. His aura became even more fierce and violent. In addition, the power that his giant axes contained increased as well. Universe God Xianxia had gotten his name due to his ferocity. His axe skills were absurd and fierce. However, at that moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted. He then displayed the small portion of the power of spacetime that he had comprehended. Buzz. Initially, Jian Wushuang relied on martial art motion to create the 9 shadows. However, at that moment, with the addition of the small portion of the power of spacetime, Jian Wushuang had created a total of 18 shadows. Secret skill Flowing Light Phantom, Stage 3. This martial art motion secret skill was directed against spacetime. At the first stage and second stage, there were not much requirement of the spacetime doctrine. However, at stage 3, the practitioner had to possess a small bit of the power of spacetime in order to use it. Jian Wushuang had grasped a small portion of the power of spacetime. When he was moving around alone in Wu Bei's cave previously, he did not come across any opponents who were exceptionally strong. His strongest opponent was Ju Chou. However, Ju Chou only possessed fighting capabilities to get into the top 30s of the Universe God ranking list. Hence, he was unable to force Jian Wushuang to use the power of spacetime. It was until the very moment where he fought Universe God Xianxia that Jian Wushuang did not conceal any of his abilities. Instead, he unleashed his full power. By using the power of spacetime, a total of 18 shadows were created. His martial art motion and the speed that he could move in an instant were brought to a new level at that moment. This speed! Universe God Xianxia was astonished. He was also surprised by the speed that Jian Wushuang had unleashed all of a sudden. Universe God Xianxia, aren't you powerful in terms of strength? I shall not compete with you in strength. Instead, I will rely on speed to kill you. Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous intent. Chapter 1508, Fight a Pitched Battle. Wow! A total of 18 shadows, and every one of them was as swift as a ghost. Jian Wushuang's figure instantly appeared before Universe God Xianxia, and a crimson sword light slashed at his skull. The speed was really too fast. One who was as strong as Universe God Xianxia could only swing out the huge axe in a flurry to block. Dang! A loud noise and the 18 shadows were cast out again. Jian Wushuang appeared behind Universe God Xianxia again and wielded his sword at lightning speed again. Jian Wushuang's speed and martial art motion exploded. He moved around Universe God Xianxia and constantly performed sword principles to attack Universe God Xianxia's vital parts. Although Universe God Xianxia was powerful, dealing with such creepy martial art motion at such speed, he could only think of ways to block Jian Wushuang's sword principle attack for the time being. He looked like he was in a fix. Bastard! There was an angry roar and there was fire churning in Universe God Xianxia's eyes. However, there was a soaring rage that flowed from his body suddenly. He was like a living beast. An enormous amount of divine power concentrated in the huge axe in his hands. Suddenly, the 2 huge axes swung out and the surrounding void was covered in the axe shadow. He only wanted to pressure me with force. Humph! Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold and he wielded Blood Mountain sword suddenly. It collided with the 2 axes' shadows. Under the attack of the divine power, he took a few steps back. However, the moment he steadied himself, the figure plunged out again. Want to suppress me by relying on force itself? You must be dreaming. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. He used the power of spacetime and burst his martial art motion entirely. Universe God Xianxia couldn't catch up to his speed at all. Hence, Universe God Xianxia wanted to rely on his strength to forcefully fight him off till he became heavily injured. Just like the saying, one force loses 10 strokes. However, Universe God Xianxia didn't know that Jian Wushuang might not be able to compare favorably with him in terms of power, but they weren't too far apart. Merely a small difference in power and he intended to suppress Jian Wushuang. It was impossible. Plus, even if Jian Wushuang were to be fought off, he would plunge forward again the very next moment. Your martial art motion, speed, and even close combat power are far behind me. You are only slightly stronger in terms of strength. How dare you behave so recklessly before me? Just stand here and be my living target. Jian Wushuang roared. His figure moved creepily and then appeared by Universe God Xiongfu's side. Blood Mountain sword turned into a flowing light and stabbed into Universe God Xiongfu's chest. Such a creepy martial art motion, such a tricky angle. Universe God Xiongfu couldn't wield his huge axe to block, but the black armor covered his whole body and the black armor let out a dim light. Blood Mountain sword stabbed the black armor and it only left a white mark on the black armor which disappeared really quickly. Real God Chaos Unique Treasure? Jian Wushuang frowned. He was a disciple of Star Palace from lineage of Star. He had completed the ultimate disciple task and he received Blood Feather Reincarnation Armor as a bonus reward. On the other hand, Universe God Xiongfu was Heaven Axe Divine Palace's most outstanding disciple. Heaven Axe Divine Palace wasn't much weaker compared to lineage of Star. It was only right and proper that he had a real God Chaos Unique Treasure on him. However, even with the black armor protecting his body, part of the force contained in Jian Wushuang's stroke spread to Universe God Xiongfu's divine body and caused him some damage. Swoosh! Universe God Xiongfu retreated at high speed due to the impact. As he retreated, he looked over at Jian Wushuang with eyes full of rage. Jian Wushuang, I belittled you. You already have the fighting power to be listed in the top 10 of Universe God ranking list. That's really impressive. Universe God Xiongfu roared. You and I have not much difference in power. If we were to continue to fight, it'd be meaningless. Excuse me for not keeping you company. As he spoke, Universe God Xiongfu turned into a cloud of black light and prepared to leave. But he had yet to move and he saw an enormous amount of blazing quicksand coming towards him. Although the formed realm wouldn't have much effect on him, his speed was affected. Jian Wushuang, you want to waste time? Universe God Xiongfu had anger boiling in him. Waste time? I don't think so. Jian Wushuang's murderous intention soared. You have guts. You really thought I was afraid of you? Universe God Xiongfu bellowed and his figure shook. Suddenly, he grew to 3 meters tall. A boundless divine power soared in madness. Universe God Xiongfu kept one of his huge axes and held another axe with both his hands. He raised it up. The moment he raised it up, there was immediately an imposing black axe shadow in the void above. The black axes formed one after another. With one glance, there were more than 100 of them. Hundreds of black axe shadows floated. Along with a chilly gleam from Universe God Xiongfu, the hundreds of black axe shadows gathered. Serene Divine Axe. Hualala. An earth-shattering stroke suddenly swung out. The moment the axe shadow appeared, the entire void quivered. There were cracks that formed on the ground from nowhere, just like a spreading spiderweb. Jian Wushuang could feel the power that the axe contained and he didn't dare to act recklessly. Ninth Heaven Stroke. Both were eruptions of strongest divine power, but Jian Wushuang was performing the most powerful Ninth Heaven Stroke out of the 3 real God unique skill that he had created. A Supreme Sword Intention Sword and Nemesis Sword from above Ninth Heaven appeared in the air. It then collided with the ferocious black axe shadow directly. Rumble. There was a loud rumble, as though the sky was collapsing and the earth was shattering. The black axe shadow contained a terrifying force, obviously a notch stronger than the sword principle that Jian Wushuang had cast, Nemesis Sword. Humph, to be able to die by my strongest unique skill, you should be proud. Universe God Xiongfu looked a little pale. It was obvious that it wasn't easy for him to perform the technique. But then, swoosh! The black divine storm was suddenly pierced. A ghastly figure plunged out and suddenly charged before Universe God Xiongfu in an instant again. How is it possible? Universe God Xiongfu was shocked. He already saw the ghastly figure belong to Jian Wushuang, but he never thought that Jian Wushuang would be able to do such a thing. He wasn't injured at all? Universe God Xiongfu looked on in disbelief. But he didn't know that Jian Wushuang also had a real God Chaos unique treasure protecting his body, and he had cultivated one of the secret skills of lineage of Star, Xianxia Golden Body. His divine body could be compared favorably with a real god's. After the earlier axe stroke broke Ninth Heaven Stroke, it had already expended half of its power. The remaining power pounded against Jian Wushuang's body. After the tremendous weakening via blood feather reincarnation armor, there was only a very slight bit of power left. Jian Wushuang blocked it easily with his divine body alone. Chapter 1509. A taste of his own medicine. Even your strongest move cannot kill me. Now, it's my turn to kill you. Jian Wushuang's roar resounded across the universe. His body was like a ghost, and he created 18 shadows. In no time, he appeared in front of Universe God Xianxia. Swoosh! 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 Swift, violent, and artful sword shadows appeared one after another. Under the influence of the power of space-time, the speed of the sword shadows was extremely fast. With Jian Wushuang's martial art motion, he attacked Universe God Xianxia again and again. Oh no! Universe God Xianxia's expression changed greatly, and he swung his giant axes to block. However, in terms of speed of martial art motion, he was unable to keep up, and he was pushed back by Jian Wushuang in no time. Jian Wushuang's sword light attacked one after another, and Universe God Xianxia used every ounce of his strength to block them. However, Jian Wushuang would find openings during a few instances and struck Universe God Xianxia with his sword principles. If one or two strokes struck him, he would not be too concerned. However, as time went by, the sword principles that landed on his body continued to increase. No matter how strong his defense was, he would be unable to take so many attacks. I have to escape as soon as possible, if not I will really be in danger. You're listening to this story from PandaAudioBooks. If you enjoy these stories and would like to support my work, feel free to buy me a coffee via PayPal. Link in the description below. Universe God Xianxia understood this point, and he looked for an opportunity to escape immediately. However, it was a pity. Jian Wushuang's Blaze Quicksand Gourd's territory was present, and he had also used the secret skill of Dragon Blood. Hence, his speed would be many times faster than Universe God Xianxia's. Even if Universe God Xianxia were to use all his tricks, he would be unable to shake Jian Wushuang off. Jian Wushuang continued to attack time and again. He struck Universe God Xianxia's body repeatedly and caused his injuries to increase unceasingly. After some time, Jian Wushuang had over 20 swords attacking Universe God Xianxia's body head-on. After 20 strokes, blood flowed out from the corners of Universe God Xianxia's mouth, and his body was on the verge of collapsing. Jian Wushuang, I admit that you are impressive. I will give you the White Blaze Fruit. Universe God Xianxia shouted. White Blaze Fruit. Ha ha. After killing you, won't the White Blaze Fruit still be mine? Jian Wushuang said coldly. Jian Wushuang, you are too much. Universe God Xianxia was extremely furious. You said it yourself. In this world, abilities earn you respect. Since my abilities are stronger than yours, even if I go over the line, what can you do? Jian Wushuang sneered. Cut the crap, die. Damn you. Universe God Xianxia cursed loudly. At the same time, he was struggling against Jian Wushuang madly. He could only struggle. Escape. It was impossible for him to escape. Fight. The speed of Jian Wushuang's martial art motion had pushed him back completely and did not give him any chance to counterattack. He could only allow Jian Wushuang's sword principles to strike him repeatedly, making his injuries more fatal. As for going all out, he had already tried going all out, using his strength to stop his motion and even unleashing his strongest move. However, he was still unable to do anything against Jian Wushuang. In such a situation, what awaited him was death. No, no. Universe God Xianxia roared madly. He had already sensed death approaching him. Although he was struggling with all his might, he still had no way out. He could only look on as the number of injuries on his body continued to increase, his body gradually reaching its limit and finally, collapse completely. Bam! With a low, deep voice, Universe God Xianxia's life came to an end and he stopped breathing. Jian Wushuang stood in the void. As he looked at Universe God Xianxia's body, his eyes filled with coldness. Long Ya had given you the White Blaze Fruit just now. However, you still wanted to kill him. And now, I am merely letting you have a taste of your own medicine. Hence, you cannot blame me. You can only blame the fact that you deserve to die. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. After that, he swung his hand and plundered Universe God Xiongfu's Chen Kuan ring as well as all his treasures. While plundering his treasures, Jian Wushuang took a look quickly and he could not help but be amazed. Universe God Xiongfu was indeed a top expert who ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. He had quite a number of treasures on him. All the pieces of armor that he wore were Chaos unique treasures that were of the level of a real god. Even those 2 giant axes of his were Chaos unique treasures of the level of a real god. Hence, it was no wonder that his strength was so powerful. However, it was a pity. With the death of Universe God Xiongfu, all the treasures on him, including the white blaze fruit, had fallen into the hands of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. A voice could be heard. Long Yue, who was recovering his divine power at a void far away, had come over. As he looked at Universe God Xiongfu's body, which had fallen to the ground, Long Yue's face was filled with astonishment. You actually killed Universe God Xiongfu? That's a super expert ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. Ranked 9th. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and he wore an indifferent smile. Universe God Xiongfu was indeed worthy of being ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. His abilities were certainly powerful. However, on the basis of the reincarnation doctrine, Jian Wushuang had managed to comprehend a small bit of the power of space-time. Hence, at the moment, he definitely had the fighting capabilities to get into the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list. Comparing real fighting capabilities, he was not very different from Universe God Xiongfu. Even if he was stronger than Universe God Xiongfu, he was only slightly stronger. However, the key point was that Jian Wushuang had overpowered Universe God Xiongfu. I cannot say that I overpowered him. Instead, it's my martial art motion that is too strange and frightening. I reckon that most of the experts, including the Universe Gods on the Universe God ranking list, could only take a beating if they were to come across my martial art motion. The only exceptions are the Universe Gods who honed their martial art motions to an extremely high level as well and are able to match my speed, Jian Wushuang giggled. Universe God Xiongfu had died in an oppressed manner. He was definitely not weaker than Jian Wushuang by much. However, as he was unable to keep up with the speed of Jian Wushuang's martial art motion, he could only take a beating continuously and defend continuously during the fight. Moreover, he was unable to block the attacks completely. Hence, he had died. Long Yue, how is the recovery of your divine power? Jian Wushuang looked toward Long Yue. The effects of the elixirs that you gave me are not bad. I have already recovered 10% of my divine power. Although I am unable to participate in a big battle, I will be fine if I am just moving around, Long Yue said. That's good, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. At that moment, he realized that a shadow was dashing over from the void that was not too far away. It's Xianxia, Jian Wushuang revealed a smile. When they received Lei Chao's message that Long Yue was being pursued, both Jian Wushuang and Xianxia hurried over at their fastest speed. However, as Jian Wushuang was closer, he would naturally arrive earlier. As for Xianxia, he only managed to arrive at that moment. Jian Wushuang, Long Yue, are both of you all right? Xianxia appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and Long Yue. I am all right. I am lucky that Jian Wushuang arrived in the nick of time, Long Yue said. Okay, Xianxia noticed the big pile of bodies on the ground, especially Universe God Xiongfu's body. That's Universe God Xiongfu. Xianxia stared. That is indeed Universe God Xiongfu. However, he is dead now. He was killed by Jian Wushuang, Long Yue said. What? Xianxia looked at Jian Wushuang incredulously. All right, let's not talk about this now. Let's leave this place. That fight just now was not small. Quite a number of Universe Gods around the area are looking, Jian Wushuang said. Understood. Long Yue and Xianxia nodded their heads simultaneously. After that, the three of them left at once. Chapter 1510. Top 5? The battle between Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xiongfu attracted many Universe Gods. The Universe Gods kept their distance and watched from afar. Some Universe Gods even took out a mirroring token to record the war scene. After Jian Wushuang and the other two disciples left, the spectators in the void immediately burst into an uproar. Universe God Xiong Fu died? The 20th on Universe God ranking list, Jian Wushuang killed the 9th-ranked Universe God Xiong Fu? This is unbelievable. There was a great commotion. Very soon, the news about the battle spread like wildfire. In the Loft Palace where the Almighties gathered. Lei Chao, your people in Lineage of Star have guts. The roar containing boundless anger reverberated through the entire palace. It was a stern-looking man who roared. The stern-looking man was from Heaven Axe Divine Palace. Humph. The one who has guts should be Universe God Xiong Fu from Heaven Axe Divine Palace. He was after a disciple from Lineage of Star, Long Ya. Even after Long Ya gave him the white blaze fruit, he didn't stop. He wanted Long Ya's death. Now, Jian Wushuang has killed him and he only has himself to blame, Lei Chao snorted. Has? Himself to blame. We, Heaven Axe Divine Palace, won't pretend as though nothing has happened. The stern-looking man bellowed. Regardless of what Heaven Axe Divine Palace wants to do, we, Lineage of Star, will be accepting it, Lei Chao said at ease. Such a joke. The power levels of Lineage of Star and Heaven Axe Divine Palace were very close. When Universe God Xiong Fu had intended to strike at Long Ya, he didn't worry about Lineage of Star. So why would Lineage of Star bother with Heaven Axe Divine Palace? The surrounding experts, including the Almighties, watched the two of them wage a tit-for-tat struggle engrossingly but didn't stop them. In the middle of the hall, there was a motion picture that appeared before long. The motion picture was the scene where Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xiong Fu were exchanging blows. Everyone in the hall was watching while exchanging comments. Jian Wushuang is quite powerful. He is. He comprehended two supreme doctrine, reincarnation and space-time doctrine. Plus, his comprehension of reincarnation doctrine has already passed through the first level of Doctrine Palace. It's really rare. The most impressive thing about Jian Wushuang is his martial art motion. Yeah. His martial art motion is too creepy. Universe God Xiong Fu totally couldn't keep up. He could only take the hits and be on the defensive. The experts in the hall were highly experienced, especially the Almighties. Through the motion picture, they could clearly determine Jian Wushuang's power. However, they still couldn't tell Jian Wushuang's true level of power, let alone the fact that Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator. Jian Wushuang's martial art motion. I know about this, the owner of Sky Sword Mountain spoke. His martial art motion is created by a real god with high comprehension level on space-time doctrine from very long ago. It's called Flowing Light Phantom. The real god's power wasn't very strong and was quite a distance from getting listed on Universe God ranking list, but his martial art motion was widely recognized as the first in that era. Later on, the real god passed away and the martial art motion was passed down to his descendants. Over the years of passing down, it ended up in the hands of a universe god named Long Xiu. Universe god Long Xiu was previously imprisoned in my Sky Sword prison. But when Jian Wushuang was wandering in Sky Sword prison, he killed Universe god Long Xiu. Hence, he obtained the secret skill of the martial art motion. Oh, I see, the surrounding experts nodded. A real god could be widely recognized as the first in martial art motion and speed with the secret skill of Flowing Light Phantom alone. From that itself, one could see how impressive the secret skill was. In terms of martial art motion alone, Jian Wushuang should be in the first place out of all experts on Universe God ranking list, an Almighty said. He should be. Look at Universe God Xiong Fu, he wasn't much weaker compared to Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang killed him straight away, relying on the martial art motion itself. With such a shocking martial art motion, Jian Wushuang's power is enough to be listed in the top 5 on Universe God ranking list, the red-haired elderly with a unicorn in between his eyebrows said. The surrounding Almighties agreed. However, regardless of Jian Wushuang's ranking on Universe God ranking list, the Almighties wouldn't bother. They were merely treating Jian Wushuang as a topic of discussion. In Wu Bei's cave. Jian Wushuang, you are the strongest. The white blaze fruit that Long Ya got earlier, keep it for yourself. You don't have to give it to Long Ya, Lei Chao sent a message. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then, he informed Long Ya and Xianxia about it. Long Ya agreed. There are many experts in Wu Bei's cave. It'd be the safest if white blaze fruits are with you. What are your plans after this? Jian Wushuang asked. My divine power has yet to recover entirely. Even if it recovers entirely, it is quite dangerous for me to wander around Wu Bei's cave alone. So, I plan to join forces with Xianxia and move around with him, Long Yue said. That'd be best. Jian Wushuang nodded too. Since Wu Bei's cave had opened to the public, there was a large number of experts that had gathered there. Many experts on Universe God ranking list, including those who weren't famous but possessed fighting power of 1 on Universe God ranking list. Long Yue and Xianxia weren't very high in ranking on Universe God ranking list. If they were to wander around alone, they might not be able to escape in time, even if they were lucky enough to find a white blaze fruit. If they were to join forces, they could at least coordinate. As for Jian Wushuang, it shouldn't be a problem for him to wander along with his power. If so, I shall leave. Be careful when you two move around, Jian Wushuang said. Then, Jian Wushuang left. The grand fight banquet for white blaze fruit continued and became even more insane. On the 8th day, after the battle between Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xianxia ended, there was a piece of news that was shared to every Universe God in Wu Bei's cave. The first ranked on the Universe God ranking list, God-destroying King, was there. God-destroying King had conquered the first place on Universe God ranking list firmly 100,000 years ago. All those years, his position had been unshakable. The top 10 monsters on Universe God ranking list, if the monsters in the second and the third place could be challenged, God-destroying King, who was first place, was an unbeatable mythology, a legend. His power was so powerful that it made one feel hopeless. He was so powerful that Zi Dongwang in second place and Demon Girl Ling Luo in third place didn't have the courage to compete with him. According to the introduction of God-destroying King to Universe God ranking list, God-destroying King had comprehended one of the 4 supreme doctrine, extermination doctrine. Also, he had only comprehended extermination doctrine. Unlike Jian Wushuang, Zi Dongwang and Ling Luo, who had comprehended 2 heaven ways. However, because he focused entirely on extermination doctrine, his comprehension towards extermination doctrine was at an unbelievable level. There was a rumor in 10 cultivation sanctuaries that God-destroying King's comprehension towards extermination doctrine could pass through the second level of Doctrine Palace.